Good morning, everyone. So my job was to find a reading, and I did the researcher that I am. I read a plethora of readings, and I found one that I enjoyed, but I also thought I'd add my own 2 cents, which, if you know me, that's highly likely that I would do that. So thank you to Stacy Horn for this little reading, and Mary Apt, that's me. When I sing, music vibration moves through me. It changes me physically and emotionally. Singing in a group like the UUMH choir, from the looks of the members, is an exhilarating and transformative moment in each and every Sunday service. It begins inside each singer, and then it's shared with a room full of people like you. The feeling of singing comes back as something even more thrilling, unexplainable. I understand that endorphins are released by singing, which gives a person a feeling of pleasure. There's a hormone called oxytocin, and when it is activated, it alleviates anxiety and stress. Who knew? Oxytocin also enhances feeling of trust and bonding, and maybe that is why singing lessens feelings of depression and loneliness. In another study, singers were found to have lower levels of cortisol, and we all know what that is, right? It's everywhere, indicating lower body stress. Why, even our heart rates may sync up during group singing, explaining why singing together sometimes feels like a guided meditation. Study after study has found that singing relieves anxiety and contributes to the quality of life. It turns out you don't even need to be a good singer to reap the rewards. So anybody is invited to join us in the UUMH choir. You don't have to be a good singer. You just need to want to sing. It is said that group singing can produce satisfying and therapeutic sensations, even when the sound produced by the vocal instrument is of mediocre quality. Mediocre quality. But what comes out of that group is certainly not mediocre. Singing in the choir is cheaper than therapy, healthier than drinking, and certainly, if you look at me, more fun than working out. It is the one thing in life, it is the one thing in my life where feeling better is pretty much guaranteed.
And that's why we call her our leader now. Well, we're going to hear now the musical offering of the choir, led again by Mary. And this is an offering that the voices of the choir give as our ushers come around and ask you for your offering. Let there be your offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. To make particular and to make special this Music Sunday, we have asked two of the members of the choir to speak today on why they sing. I would first like to invite Marty Hassel up.
Good morning. When this assignment or prompt was first given to me, it was what does the UU choir mean to you? Then I opened the brochure this morning and says, why do I sing? And then I realized it's the same thing. So I'm going to deliver the original talk. I have recently retired from 31 years of teaching. I taught the history of photography at New England School of Photography in Boston, in addition to my administrative work there. My method for keeping students awake during my 2-hour lectures was to tell the story part of history rather than recite a list of dates to remember. So, since I no longer have a regular captive audience, I will take this opportunity to unleash all my pent-up storytelling on you and tell you a couple of stories about the beginning of my musical life and then move into the gift of being a member of the UU choir. My second to oldest memory, I'll tell you the first one another time, is of standing up to sing a hymn at a Sunday service in the Church of the Ascension Episcopal Church in Wakefield, Rhode Island, a town about the size of, but far from the nature of, Provincetown. I was standing to my mother's left in the second row to the left of the center aisle facing the altar. I was around 3 or 4 years old. In those days, children did not spring from the womb attached to a digital device and already able to read. Some of you remember that, right? So I could not read the words or the music yet. My mother's comforting, warm alto voice competently rendered the alto part for the hymn being sung. She was so sure and confident and happy that I wanted, in the worst way, to sing along. I finally couldn't contain myself and burst out loudly into song, making up my own lyrics and, I'm sure, my own tune. My mother didn't even glance at me or try to quiet me down. I'm sure she was amused and deep down inside wished she had brought earplugs to church that day. At the age of 5, my parents took me to Tanglewood for my first symphony concert. It wasn't just any symphony concert either. It was the Boston Symphony Orchestra, conducted by the legendary and dramatic Charles Munch. I remember that we were camped out on the lawn, stage left. In order to see better, I left my parents seated and worked my way up to the back of the roofed high-priced seats to get a better view. There and then, I set my heart on becoming a concert violinist. I waited impatiently to get started on my life's work. When I was old enough to span enough keys, my mother insisted that I take 2 years of piano lessons before starting the violin. I did my required time at the keyboard, and then finally, with a borrowed violin from my music teacher aunt, went to my first violin lesson, followed by a year of weekly lessons. The sounds I made were so ear-splitting and un-BSO-like that I finally realized that maybe Fritz Kreisler and even Jack Benny, and certainly Brianna, had something that I didn't. I quit the violin to save my own hearing and that of those I loved. Neither of these two embarrassing experiences seemed to faze me in the least, however. I soldiered on to sing in church choirs throughout my childhood and teen years. I accompanied that winter activity by becoming a leader at Girl Scout camp every summer. Oh, nobody's chuckling. People usually laugh at that. So I want to explain to you what that entails. It consists of teaching a song in anywhere from 2 to 8 parts to a few hundred people at once, and getting them singing it in multiple part harmony in about 10 minutes. Try it, you'll like it. My mother again set the example for that pursuit, as she held the much coveted honor of leading the step singing at Wellesley College and was a Girl Scout song leader too. At home, she and I also sang along to folk and Broadway tunes on the hi-fi in harmonies we made up by ear. So I learned singing by ear as well as from paper. In 1962, at the age of 14, I picked up the guitar for the first time and became an instant folk singer. It only took 3 chords. It took 5 minutes for me to learn them. Don't be too impressed. And continued in that identity throughout high school, college, and afterwards. Perfect timing for becoming part of the folk revival of the 1960s. I also made it into the Connecticut All-States Chorus in high school, went on a European singing tour with my college choir, and after college landed a job in the first production of Jesus Christ Superstar before the rights were sold. It was totally pirate production, but it was fun. I was a singer and musician by profession and choice until 1973, when I picked up a camera seriously for the first time. For the next 3 years, while living in Lake Placid, New York, another town about the same size and ilk in many ways as Provincetown, I made a living through music and photography. In 1976, I came to Boston for a weekend and never left. I got a job in a camera shop in Harvard Square, and nobody heard me sing or play a note from that point on. My identity completely changed from that of being a musician to being a photographer for the next 18 years. Then, in 1994, my partner and I built a house in Provincetown. I was here on the weekends and working at New England School of Photography in Boston during the week. Jennifer Justice was the minister here at the UU. As her partner at that time was a close friend of mine, I came to service now and then just to be supportive. One Sunday, I found myself paying close attention to the choir. It sounded pretty good. I found out that it did not have weekly rehearsals, and it suddenly occurred to me that I really missed singing. So one week, I showed up, and there was Char Priolo, another Girl Scout song leader. And so it made me feel like I was not alone. And it may have been the first Sunday that I first sat next to a delightful, funny, beyond excellent alto named Mary Apt. I was feeling like an outsider in P-Town until that day. The next time I went to the grocery store, then the A&P, it took me an hour to get out of there because I kept running into people I'd met in choir. Finally, I was becoming a local. I could see the seeds of some of my most wonderful friendships beginning to sprout. Please refer to the song we just sang. All my friends up until that time were Boston to P-Town bi-townals, we called ourselves. Needless to say, the choir became my lifeline to Provincetown and the yellow brick road back to a life with a musical soundtrack. Now I sing in the Outer Cape Chorale and chamber singers as well as the choir. Rehearsing and performing are now once again a way of life. And so, what does singing in the UU choir mean to me? It restored my musical identity, led me, most importantly, to my spiritual home right here in this room, and gave me a way to honor my mother's voice again every time I sing the alto part to any piece of music. Oh, and Mary Apt? Where is she? Still here? Oh, hi. I'm proud to say she became my friend, who on many occasions back at the beginning took me home after church to keep singing with others on Sunday afternoon. And on top of that, she fed us all, too. My Provincetown family grew from there. I am overjoyed that she is going to infuse her fun, vitality, and prolific talent into the UU music program and will continue to give all of us in the choir the joy of making music with her. Even after 22 years of doing that, it still gives me a thrill each and every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Our next speaker is Madeir Pells. Welcome.
Hello. My office is closed, so don't have access to my printer. Okay, let me see how this goes. Yeah. And one of the bonuses of speaking here is that I can look at you, which is quite beautiful. But it's not the reason that I sing. It's not why I sing. So, let me see how this will work. Okay. Yes. So I can answer the question, why do I sing in the choir in one short sentence? I sing because it affects me so very deeply. And week after week, singing in the choir simply helps me to be in my heart. Singing helps me to be kinder, more loving, to be more present than I probably would be left to my own devices. Plus, of course, singing is a wonderful thing to do. But what made it really happen was that there was an invitation. I came to the UU exactly 3 years ago, after I let go of my plan of spending my winters in India, which is another story. And I came here, the first time Christmas Eve, just to be with other people in the community, celebrate Christmas, and I was completely stunned. I did not expect such a beautiful place, such beautiful people, incredible singing. I was really blown away. So I decided to come back at the next opportunity that I had to be here, which was Sunday morning. And being who I am, or who I was, because we change all the time, I came an hour early, thinking that I could have the sanctuary all to myself. And instead, what happened was I walked in, and the choir was practicing, and John looked at me and he said, "Hi, Madeir, are you here to sing with us?" I said, "Singing?" Singing wasn't anything that I had ever done after elementary school. I actually had been a very, very quiet person, withdrawn, hiding most of the time. I grew up in a complicated situation. So singing wasn't anything that came naturally. What happened to me, because of being very, very quiet, is that the energy went to my hands. And I'm very grateful that it did, because now these hands are healing hands. So if John would have asked me, "Hi, Madeir, are you here to fix my back, or to pop my neck, or stretch my aura," for that matter, I would have said, sure, I can do that. But singing, I said, "Sorry, John, I cannot sing." He said, "Well, how would you know if you wouldn't try?" I said, "Well, that was the most important question that he could have asked at that time, because it was a gentle invitation to challenge my belief that I couldn't sing." And that was the world I came from. the world of being in India, being with Osho, was to challenge all your beliefs in yourself and undoing those false beliefs, whether they were, outrageously negative or positive, didn't matter. Meditation was about transformation. So I said, okay, let's sing. And as it turned out, it was the most perfect, incredible way for me to step into not only the UU Meeting House, but also in the choir, in this community, into Provincetown, where, and this may sound a little strange, I had lived for 20 years, but I had not really connected to. So, I don't take any invitation for granted. I struggled, but as it turned out, the first 2 years, I thought I was right. I couldn't sing. I tried hard. I leaned on everybody, mostly on James, who is not here anymore. I thought I was an alto, because I think you have two choices when you're a woman. You're either a soprano or alto. I'm certainly not a soprano, as you can tell already. So, but after 2 songs, the alto started to look at me somewhat, like, what are you doing here? We don't want you here. You throw us off. You are 3 octaves lower than us, and please go over there because you're a tenor. I said, okay, I'm a tenor. I didn't know what that meant, but what it meant was that I was surrounded by beautiful male voices. And on some levels, I started to feel kind of at home all of a sudden, like, oh, well, I may not completely sound like you or sing like you, but it was came a little bit closer, at least, than what I was doing and trying before. So after 2 weeks, I asked John, can I join the Outer Cape Chorale? He said, sure. I said, oh my gosh, now I'm not only singing in the choir, I'm also singing in the Outer Cape Chorale. And in a way that was easier because you had a practice CD. So I could practice. And what happened as a consequence was like singing became sort of a meditation for me. And again, the 2 worlds starting to melt and blend and collide, and I started to feel really at home with it all. And I have to say something too about belief that, I thought I was stepping into a totally different world than where I came from. But what I found out is that there was so much love. So much support. And I thank you. For helping me to see that it was me who had to understand something on a deeper level. That I was not, doing something exclusive by being with the Master and being in meditation most of my life. But by coming home here, I actually brought that here, what I had learned. But the flame of love, the flame in the heart was exactly the same. And I thank you. So, being me still, it was still me, I started to experiment with singing. They're like, okay, there were moments that I could sing, and there were moments that I could absolutely not sing. And I was looking at my brain like, okay, my throat is one thing. And I had to let go of India because I couldn't breathe there. And when I came here, my lungs were full of lead and junk and smog and smoke from the hundreds and thousands of rickshaws that were driving along. And I was inhaling the exhaust. So I had to let it go because I couldn't take a deep breath when I came here. But through singing, it started to heal. Today I can take a deep breath. Today I can be a mediocre singer. I will never be, an excellent singer, but I can sing. So I asked my brain, so what is it? When can I sing? When can I sing in Dutch but not in English, for instance? Or I thought that meditation would help me to sing, but no, on the contrary, when I meditate first, then I can no longer sing. Why? Because I'm in a different part of my brain. Every new song is a challenge because I have to balance left and right brain. I have to read the words. I don't read the music, so I have to translate what I see on paper into, quickly, is it a high, low, lower, whatever note. And it takes a little bit of time. But I can tell you, after 3 years of being here, I can breathe, I can sing, I can speak. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madir. Thank you both, Marty and Madir, very much. The worship committee wanted to do something to excite us and excite you with the instruments of the church. And we wanted, because we have these two amazing new members who have both spent a lot of their life being church organists, we wanted to try, and we had you in mind, Anne, we wanted to have the organ and the piano and the violin do a duet and rock the house. But the organ is tuned differently than the piano. And that just, you, Anne, and the rest of us would go, pretty, but. So, what we've decided to do, and it will be our closing hymn today, and it's the beautiful tune or melody that we know as Finlandia. And we know it as a choral piece in our spiritual home here as This Is My Song. It is number 159. What we've done to enjoy it, we won't sing it just yet. We will hear it first as an instrumental meditation with a duet between violin and piano. And then we will rock the house with the organ and have the same song as our closing hymn in a few moments. So I welcome back with an instrumental meditation, and experience it as you will. Thank you. And rise as you are able. And this time we welcome Paul as our organist.
We all join hands as we say our closing words. These are the words of John Rutter, a British composer. Music goes to the very heart of humanity, of community, of our souls. It is an emblem of what we need in this world, to express ourselves in harmony. Even if a choir is not the greatest in the world, a church without a choir is a church without a soul. Go into this day with music in your hearts, so be it.